We also talked a lot of shit. Um, yeah, there's like no holds barred. Like we talked a lot of shit. Yeah.
For the past 3 decades, I have had a not so secret obsession simmering beneath the layers of an average American life. The time has come to seek the community of like minded true believers. This is the road to Beard Eye Nation. Episode 6 86 Buzz Biz 3099. I was recently teaching my son Beard Eye, and before everyone freaks out, he was at home for a few days from his college spring break. As we talked between drop die, primarily on his side, and the 4 sinks he dive bombed into my cup, I remarked that Beard Eye represented a force against his ever coming into existence. What are your general thoughts about Beard Eye?
I mean, I don't really get it. Like, I was, I, I don't know. You seem to really enjoy it a lot more than than probably I think is normal.
Have you ever played Beard Eye?
I have, I have only a couple of times. I got extremely drunk the first time I played Beard Eye and missed a pub crawl. Had to get taken home after the first bar. So I have played it. I'm not very athletic. I'm not very coordinated, and it does seem to be a game of coordination.
Do you remember like going to the garage and like
Yes,
sitting
and
there?
sitting there and waiting for a long time. And I mean, it would probably be like how you have to wait, like how guys have to wait for girls to get ready to go out. It would probably be like the equivalent of that, but in a hot, sweaty garage, sneaky garage.
Do you think your answer right now is just the wisdom of years looking at it that way? Because it seemed like back then it was like you were like, this is fucking ridiculous. What am I doing here?
It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Like I probably spent in our early days as much time waiting for you to play Beard Eye as you did for me to get coffee.
While I, and more definitively my sons, are lucky my wife was not as perturbed with my beard eye habit as I remembered. It got me thinking about women's relationship to and participation in the game. The topic also came up as the Pope and I interviewed the old school choir members for episode Biz.
I remember too, like another important part is like the ladies too, the girlfriends and all that. They they understood what we were doing. They respected what we were doing. They knew they weren't going to, they knew it was guy time and it made the guys happy. And so they didn't complain about it. They laughed about it. They hung out with the other girls in the other part of the lounge while it's going on. Um, so you're playing in front of that.
Oh yeah.
It's pride, man.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh
you
no.
got your
I would
girlfriend
say,
there. Yeah, you got your girlfriend there, or maybe you're single. There's girls there. Yeah, you want to catch the fucking die.
well, yeah. The beard eye, from what I remember, and females is that when the women weren't around, maybe we weren't diving as hard as we would when they were around.
You didn't
Like
have your
you,
peacock feathers up, Doug?
Oh,
yeah, right. You weren't literally like sprawling and splashing on a floor that has been puked on the night before. Maybe you're just going to save yourself a little bit. But yeah, when the hotter the women get when they walked into the room, the more you were diving on the floor.
yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
direct correlation.
You may recall our friend from Boston alluding to female players in the first episode of this season. If you don't, here's a refresher from it.
And that's the other thing. There were some females that could dominate a beard eye table. It wasn't just like a guy thing, right? It wasn't super machismo. There were some crafty girls who would just beat the shit out of really good men's teams, right? and just sit there smiling and just being like, who's next? And you're like, wow, phenomenal skills, you know?
While this is a nice sound bite, it only scratches the surface of how female beard eye participation evolved from something going on around guy time before I got to the school to girls hosting the game in a custom made beard eye stadium after I had left.
I don't know if we had a hard time, but I know that girls didn't play near as much as guys. And when our sophomore year, when we moved in together and got that quad, it was like, we are going to be able to compete at this. I will learn how to play. I will be just as good as any guy, and I will also be able to drink 30 Busch Lights in one sitting. So that is what we endeavored to do, and mission accomplished. I mean, I would say we were just as good as anybody else. And so, yeah, in the party, my sophomore year, the party was in our room more, where the front was like a living room, and then the back we put all of our bunk beds against a single wall, and then our desks with our dressers stacked on them on the other wall, so that we had a die table between running long ways in that room at all times. We could drop it flat on the floor and roll a rug out and walk across it, or we could pop it up on the trash cans and play. And so we had just like this amazing sound system from one of our roommates, and we would have like our mixed CDs that we had all burned and added all of our like mixed playlists to. And Jenny was one song, and Mambo Number Biz was another one. And they would come on throughout the night, and people would get caught every time singing the numbers instead of saying it the way they're supposed to. But to this day, when I hear Jenny in my head, I sing it 86 Biz Buzz 309. Yeah, I blame you for that.
I wonder how many of the choir of true believers you heard from in the early episodes of this season got caught by Tommy Two-Tone in room 150 biz of Gregory Hall, because many of the mental images they drew upon for the stories in our earlier episodes were probably set in this next level underground beard eye club. In terms of people setting up a room for beard eye, yours is like a slick speakeasy, like that is, it's a high level thing you did.
We were like the OG speakeasy. I love that. Just look for the lighted reindeer hanging in the front window. We had like the Christmas reindeer from the lawn was like suspended in midair in the picture window. That's how you knew the lights are on. Come on in.
Party time. It's too bad this platform is mostly audio, because we have some great photographs of the room, and it really was pretty cool. We did have a good sense of style, you know, and the ingenuity and everything about it. And I say, you know, you leave that to women, and we'll take care of it, right?
We were just known as the Beard Eye Room at school. It didn't probably take long, maybe middle of sophomore year, and it would remain that way until we graduated. That's where people came to play beard eye, and we only got caught one time when some other people were playing in our room, and we had a whole music system set up of our front room music and our back room music, so you couldn't actually hear the die hit the table.
So you would have two sets of music going on.
Yeah. But the people that came in, we let some people were like, yeah, how you get into our room, whatever, blah, blah, go ahead and play. Well, they opened the back window up, and so people could hear it. And then they got our table taken away. But yeah, in 3 years, we only had our table taken away once.
Cheers. Impressive.
Yeah, you have our fraternity beat by like 400% or something like that. we would have problems with that.
That's funny.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the setup was pretty exceptional because of, you know, you mentioned the hinge and hiding under the bed, but you guys were also really clever, and the AC unit wasn't allowed. So we had an AC unit set up in the window, but a trash can to collect the condensation water. So that was how, dedicated to the game we were, because if the window was open, people could, see the AC, number one, and get that taken away, but also hear the beer die. So it was more than one level, the setup. And we put desks in closets even, correct? Right? To just make this all happen.
Yeah, I think there was one in the closet, maybe. Yeah.
I'm trying to
furniture
remember. Well, there
to
was a dresser in the closet, I know that. And then I
Oh,
think
that's what it was.
we
Yeah.
had one desk available to do schoolwork, and
Right.
all the other desks had dressers on top of them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I do think as four young women, we had the most stylish dorm room as far as functional. And then people would sit in our beds as like stadium seating, and there was a party in the front with a separate DJ happening. I mean, we really had it dialed in.
You did a quote wall, remember? I don't know how that started
Yeah.
exactly, but we did the table thing, but we would whoever said the stupidest or maybe just the funniest thing, but usually it was the stupidest thing that night, we would just emblaze it in red Sharpie on the wall and then
Yeah.
sign it for them, right? Pretty much.
Yep. Yep.
Where did you go to get the table?
I believe
Menards.
Was
either
it?
that or Home Depot. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't remember.
remember. I just remember we had them cut it so we could hinge it because we wanted to be able to slide it under the bunk. And we didn't have anything to strap it down because we just didn't own any of that stuff. So Michelle and I like drove with it on top of her Mustang with one arm out the window all the way back to campus. I can't remember if we bought it in Highwood or Vernon Hills, but either way, it was a long drive and it was not smart by any means.
This story of transporting a beer dyed board on top of a car held by four foolish hands rather than twine is not new to anybody who's ever played beer dye. But the distance these girls did it is not short. And as I was relaying this to the Pope, we started talking about an experience we had on this same stretch of road. And so I'm going to share this with you and participate in the time honored beard eye tradition of sitting back, putting your feet on the table, and pausing everything to tell a story, usually to stall so you can drink your beer slower. Okay, so you just hit the nail on the head, right? That's a major road, right? That's 7 miles connecting a major interstate with a major U.S. highway.
Yeah.
That both these two highways connect Chicago and Milwaukee.
And people are flying.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
4-lane road, right?
yeah.
Yeah, right. Do you remember when you and I Sunday, some random Sunday afternoon that summer we lived together after undoubtedly honing our beer dye skills for 7 hours the night? Oh, I did it. Buzz hours the night before, right?
Is this the story of the time we pulled up behind Michael
Yes.
Jordan?
Yeah.
It was awesome. It's a good one.
But because what was funny was we were in your red Mercury Tracer, right?
Oh God, you have to topaz if you have to be
Oh, it was a
accurate.
Topaz, not a Tracer. It was a Topaz.
Oh yeah.
And we were just kind of, driving along, not going fast, not going slow. And there was a Ferrari in front of us. And like one thing I noted was that we didn't pay attention to it because there was a Ferrari dealership in Lake Forest. It was like we had, like
I
that
lived
didn't move
above
the
it.
needle for us anymore.
A year or so later, I lived above that Ferrari dealership, and I'd watch them bringing in all of the race cars
Yeah.
that were going out around the country and doing maintenance on it during the week in the back there, where I parked my car. I could
Yeah.
look right in on the Ferrari like sports car fixing
Yeah,
lot.
right.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. So us seeing a Ferrari was not that big of a deal. And
No,
but I still had at that time I had pretty good eyes and you were driving and so I was just looking and the license plate was MJJ23. And I was like, what's Michael Jordan's middle name? And there was a long
That's right.
pause, which I attribute to A, us being hungover, and B, us not having the internet in our pockets for another decade, right?
Right.
And so you being from Chicago, where he was a hero, not a villain, you're like, Jeffrey, you just called it out. And then we both just like got giddy and crazy. Like school. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were like, oh shit. Oh shit. And we're like, and we're
Jordan.
sitting there, we're still just, we've at this point, we've crossed over 94 from Vernon Hills, right? And we're heading toward 41. And we're still just following
Coming up to the stoplight at 41 there, yeah.
that's where we were gonna. But before that, while we were going, we were like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep our distance. We're not going to freak out. And because we were going to Lake Forest, when that road, Town Line Road, Route 60 ends into 41, we could go left to take Deer Path in, or we could go
And
right to
to
take
Old Elm
Wesley
or
in,
whatever.
right? We could go
Yeah,
either
right. Yeah.
direction. And I remember saying to you, I'm like, okay, whichever direction Jordan goes, we're going to go. But we're not going to, once he passes our exit, we're not going where we weren't going to go. And you're like, okay, cool. So he goes to get in the right, to turn right, and you get behind him. And then do you remember what happened?
So we're at the red light, and like the traffic coming down 41, that's like a almost a blind curve that
Yes.
people are coming at like 75 miles an hour.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
super dangerous there,
Yes. And
like in
you're
retrospect, years and years of driving since that curve will kill people, right? Like,
yeah, and you could
so
legally make a right on red there, which
you
is
could, right?
baffling. Right.
But
Yeah.
like you were setting yourself up to get T-boned if you really didn't know what you were doing, right? And but the we're right
His
behind him.
airness knew that shit because he was stopped and
He was.
he was not gonna fuck around. It was a Sunday afternoon.
No, but so we're sitting there, we're geeking out, we're enjoying this, and this minivan pulls up like a Astro van from the 90s type thing, and like you can see that the people in the car can actually see into Jordan's car at that point, and everyone like arms start coming out of the car, and
Oh,
everyone's like
it was like shaking left and right, right?
it
It was,
was, and
it
then
was like,
the side door flew open.
didn't
And
the guy
like,
didn't the guy try to pull up on, because there was like that little triangular median that separated the right turn lane from the two left turn lanes? Didn't he start pulling up onto there to cut you off to like get
I
up?
don't recall
Oh my, it
that.
was
What I do recall is that door opening and like three people jumping out of it. I don't know what their plan was to surround Jordan or whatever, but at that point he was done. And like I don't even think he looked, but he pulled out into traffic that was coming through there. And I just saw barely his headlights like turn the last bit of the corner on the corner. I don't know how fast he accelerated,
it
but he
was
was
like
out of there
watching it
faster
was like
than
an
anything I've ever seen.
F-14 getting launched off an aircraft carrier.
It was
It
gone.
was
He
insane.
was just gone.
It was insane.
I was
And you,
like,
and you, I know you turned to me and you were like, dude, I'm sorry, the Topaz just doesn't have that
I'm gonna
nick.
keep up with
we don't
this one.
we don't have that move.
It was amazing.
And I think I
Oh
said to you,
God.
we made the right on 41, and I think I said to you, don't worry about it. We have a story we'll be telling 30 years from now.
Maybe, yeah. God, it's amazing.
So I did that not just to, again, make you feel what it's like to sometimes be at a beer dive table via a podcast, but also to show you that that whole story we talked about took place in the same period of time that two girls were holding a beer dive board on top of a Mustang with their hands on that road we just described. Now, fortunately for us and them, brushes with greatness are easier to come by at a beer dive table than driving east on Route 60.
The other thing about the way our beds were set up, you guys remember, that allowed for a lot of diving onto the bed for the dive.
Yes.
A lot of people ended up in the bed diving for the dives. It was pretty awesome.
I forgot about that.
I think one day that I remember, one of my most memorable games, my parents had come to visit,
Oh yeah.
and my dad was probably like 55 or so at the time. And we made him take us to Walmart and buy a bunch of 30 packs of beer, which he was like, why would I be purchasing like 10, 30 packs of beer? What are we doing? And we're like, well, we each need our own, and this is going to have to last the weekend. So he was horrified. So he ended up playing with us all day. And at first he was like, this is ridiculous. You know, why? This is not even a game. Why are you doing this? Why would anyone drink this much beer? Then he ended up having a great time. Then we walked to the football game, and he bought everybody in the stands who wanted one a hot dog. And then he fell through the bleachers. It's like, and now you've officially played beer dive. Way to go, Dad.
Dad, my favorite part about your dad being there. So it was Tim and her dad playing against Jen and me at like 7:30, 8 a.m., something like that. It was stupid early. And her dad's first toss, he drops it in one of our cups and says, "Drink up, ladies." And we're like, oh shit.
That's awesome.
Gregory 150 Biz had enough magic to give Jen's dad a Moonlight Graham moment. And yes, for those keeping score, the girl who told the 86 Buzz Biz 309 story happens to be named Jennifer. But regardless of what you could grab off their walls, these members of the choir of true believers were not there to simply adorn a session of guy time. It's interesting when you talk about how much trash you would talk. It seems like that would be something that could really work to your advantage because it's tougher for a guy to shit talk a girl, right? Like you can use that sort of unwritten bullshit chivalry code, right? That to your advantage to win, right? Because I just could not see, I couldn't unleash on a girl the way I would one of my friends, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There were some guys that I don't think they gave a shit. We knew them well enough that they did not care whatsoever. Um, I mean, we should talk to girls too. Like we just should talk to everybody. But uh, I think the bigger thing was boys don't like to lose to girls, so we could actually play. And then they'd start playing us. They'd be like, oh shit, these girls can actually play. And then you talk some shit, and then their egos really like take a dump. And I think that had an advantage in itself.
So oh no. Well, I was gonna say, I feel like most of the people we are and that we played with are athletes, and it is a game of skill to a degree. It's not just a game of chance, and you can get better at it. And so for me, it was like a little bit addicting in that way. Like, I want to be good at this. I want to get better at it. I want to be as good as that person is. And so I don't know. I just think that's part of what attracts me to it, at least. And when I find other people that might enjoy that same kind of competition, then I'm compelled to teach them. What are you going to say, Slayer?
Basically the same thing, that I think it is actually a skill game. How many drinking games can say that? A lot of the time it's just about how much you can drink. But this game, is a little bit of how well can you hold your beer, but like really how well can you catch and throw? And it's fun to watch. So it's like, even if you weren't athletic, people were drawn to the spectacle of it, the how like it was a little hidden subculture, and you kind of had to be invited to a game, and then just watching because you're like wide-eyed, like what in the hell is this, so it's just like really draws people in that way, I think. But yeah, it's not just fun to play, it's fun to watch too.
Well, and on top of what they said too, just again with us all being athletes, it was that competitive nature. I think that drew us all in as well, because
I think too, this is one game, it's the only game I've ever like traveled around and taught people. Like, oh, we've got to get, some sort of flat surface. Oh, look, we have one die. Like, let me teach you. Yeah, there's no other game that I felt compelled. Like, you're going to really enjoy this. Let me show you how this is done. Just brace yourself. It only has 37 rules, and you'll forget all of them after your second sink, but you're going to be fine.
So true.
While we have now fully submerged you in the river that is Lake Forest Beard Eye, the story is not quite over. And in keeping with the game, we're going to finish it with episode Buzz. You see, as this highly competitive game took over the campus, it became important to have a formal competition to determine which people and organizations were the best because, well, of course it did. Tragedy and triumph in the Lake Forest Greek Week Beard Eye Tournament when we return to the road to Beard Eye Nation.
Where the challengers strut their stuff, red solo cups and dice that fly beneath the endless open sky.
The Road to Beard Eye Nation is produced by the 9 Stories Up Investigative Department in association with Beanbag Studios. If you think you know a true believer, please let them know about the show. If you think you may be a true believer, please give us a Biz Star rating. If you think you may be part of the choir, please reach out to us via email at beardinationpodcast@gmail.com or Beard Eye Nation on the major social media outlets, so we can tell your story in a future episode. The first Beard Eye Nation live reunion is taking place this July in the Chicago area. Please email us for more details or check out our website, beardination.com. I'd like to thank my wife for being at least an ally, if not a true believer herself, and my son, a potential true believer in training, for helping with all the technical stuff that is just easier for kids his age for some reason. And finally, I'd like to thank our newly minted soprano section of the Choir of True Believers, who show that, like the game itself, Beard Eye consequences also do not discriminate.
In Lake Geneva at the country club. I think it was the first and last time that we were allowed to have such a nice event at that establishment, because we took Beard Eye tables and were playing die on the fairway of the golf course.
Yeah.
And not everyone was up meeting the dress code. Let's just say that. Not everyone was meeting the dress code.
We all dive in.